Hello, interns and associates, and welcome back to another episode of the Cubicle podcast. I'm Charlie Armstrong, and I'm here today with Stephanie Stephenson.
Hello.
Yes, this is our queen, the legend, and this is a very special guest that I have actually met through New York Fashion Week in September of last year. And here we are today now, having her on a podcast episode talking all about her professional background and ways of how we can inspire you guys. So, to say a little bit about Stephanie, she is a philanthropist, impact investor, and a content creator focusing on sustainable fashion, ethical supply chains, and artisan empowerment. She serves as a co-chair of the Chords Foundation, where she has helped guide long-term investments in social and environmental impact initiatives. As a chief marketing officer of Influencer Social Responsibility, ISR, she works with creators and brands to transform digital influence into measurable social good, particularly in areas like responsible consumption and ethical production. Her career spans leadership roles across impact-driven fashion and nonprofit organizations, including executive and advisory positions with Eco Fashion Corp and Indigenous Organic and Fair Trade Fashion. She has also served on boards and advisory groups such as NES, Indego Africa, Remake, and the Children's Museum of East End, supporting initiatives that strengthen artisan economies and community-based entrepreneurship. Stephanie holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Communications from UC Santa Barbara, and completed the Harvard Initiative for Responsible Investing certification at the Harvard Kennedy School. As you should, girl boss moment. Outside of her professional work, she enjoys traveling with her family, exploring New York City with her toddler, and engaging with the city's food and culture scene, as there's a lot to offer with being in the city. But let's welcome Stephanie Stephenson to the podcast. It is such a pleasure to have you on, and I'm so excited to talk about your background and what you've done and what you're doing now that will impact your own future that can inspire others. So
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's kind of start from the beginning. You're into sustainable fashion and you're into ethical supply chains and bringing that to groups to bring culture and ethical guides to life. What got you involved with this?
Yeah, so I've always been in love with fashion ever since I was little, and putting together outfits, being expressive, and just kind of finding my own style. And it wasn't until I started learning about the negative side of fashion that I started getting interested in the sustainability aspect of it. I read the book Overdressed, The High Cost of Cheap Fashion by Elizabeth Klein, and that really opened up my eyes to this whole world of like how poorly the artisans are treated. And I felt like fashion is such a visible, like emotional industry, yet the people behind it are basically invisible. And so there was just this like dichotomy to me that I wanted to help and figure out like what I could do. It was an industry that I loved, but I didn't love the negative side and also the environmental impact that fashion has. So through our family's foundation, I started getting involved in sustainable and ethical supply chains.
So you have a family foundation. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about what is your family foundation that you have?
Yeah, so it's called the Cordis Foundation, and we started in 2006 when my dad sold his financial services firm. My parents had always been really philanthropic. My dad, building a successful business, felt like he wanted to give back to the next generation of social entrepreneurs. We're building businesses that were good for the world. And my mom, her background's in psychology. She worked at battered women's shelters and runaway homes, so she was very passionate about like helping women and girls. And so they kind of, when my dad sold his company, they formalized our giving and started a family foundation that focused on women and girls and economic opportunities for them. And then when I joined 2014, that's when I brought my background in fashion to kind of lead the focus to be more around sustainable fashion and supply chain.
Oh, that's so interesting. That is so cool. And regarding that, what have been like successful achievements and milestones that have been with the Quartz Foundation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like success for us is kind of measured in systems versus like straight impact metrics. I feel like it's hard to measure success in just like dollars donated or jobs created because there's so many like hard to measure qualitative aspects as well. And so I feel like some of the nonprofits, when we start with them when they're pretty small so that our grant size makes a difference, and then watching them grow over, we've had some nonprofits that we've been involved with for 10 years or 12 years like since I started, and just seeing them grow over time, seeing how their communities are impacted, how they've been able to like graduate from some of the programs that we've helped support is a big one. And also we look at when a nonprofit is able to build like a self-sustaining revenue model, so they aren't always relying on straight grants. They can have a revenue stream that then helps them become sustainable. So that's kind of part of success for us, is watching an organization that we support in the early days eventually become sustainable kind of on their own.
Do you have examples of like certain organizations that you have helped to grow and become the way that they have been now through the support of the Florence Foundation?
That's a good question. I feel like we've helped a lot of organizations in different ways, and we always make sure to go beyond the dollar. So we like to help them with our like skills and join boards as well. So some of the connections that we've made have really helped organizations grow even more so than like the grant that we gave them. But Indego Africa is an organization that we've been supporting, for about 12 years now. I served on the board for 5 years, and now I'm on their fashion advisory board. And they have started to create really cool partnerships with like Loewe and like big well-known fashion brands as a revenue stream for them, which has really helped their nonprofit also have like a business side to it.
Very interesting. And then, so you serve on the board and you have been for fashion advisory. How has that been? And what have been like your specific roles with being a part of that?
Good.
within the
I
organization?
really like it. Like it's definitely a little bit different than being on the board of directors because you don't have that fiduciary duty. It's just really focused on fashion. So they bring us together every quarter. They have a bunch of other fashion professionals like in marketing or in branding or like designers. We all come around the table and like get to look at the new collection that's upcoming, give feedback, talk about like, especially with my background in influencers, like, okay, how can we get these products in more influencers' hands or events? Like what can we do with events? So, and just how we can collaborate. We actually just did for a month for Women's History Month, Indego Africa had a whole penthouse in Sutton Tower on the 77th floor. It was gorgeous. One of their board members worked at Compass and they were trying to sell the apartment. So they basically gave it to Indego for the month. So they got to use it for different events, and ISR got to put on a big fashion show where we brought in like 50 creators and worked with another nonprofit to do a whole fashion show. That was really fun to see like some of my worlds colliding. And that's kind of what I like to do in my board roles is bring in different partners and create something even bigger together.
That is so cool. That is so amazing how a lot of your different, career paths and backgrounds, like combining them together must have been so crazy to be a part of. It's like a double whammy, like, wow, I did that.
It was so fun seeing it all come together. It was such a beautiful event.
So to organize a fashion show, because I know for all the fashion interns and associates that get involved with that, what does it take to organize it and what is the process like?
So for that one, that was through Influencer Social Responsibility. And basically how we work is we have an influencer, a brand, and a nonprofit, and we have them all come together and figure out, depending on which of those people come to us first, like what an event could look like. So in this case, an influencer named Hannah Lizzie came to us, and her platform's a lot about fashion. She wanted to support young girls and help them build confidence. So we work a lot with Girls Inc. in New York City. And so we brought in Girls Inc. and decided that the girls in the nonprofit would be the models and the creators would be the ones in the audience. And then Steve Madden was our big brand sponsor. So the girls all wore Steve Madden shoes. And then we partnered with Pickle. Are you familiar with Pickle? They're like a peer-to-peer lending fashion platform. And so they lent us like all the clothes for the show. And so that was it was like a unique twist on a fashion show that like gave back. And then we did it at the penthouse in like the beautiful setting. And there was Indego Africa prints and someone spoke and talked about the artisans. So yeah, that's kind of how ISR works is we bring in the influencer, the brand, and the creator and like make
magic happen. And that's how everyone on social media is like gagged when they see your content.
That was a fun one.
That must have been so terrific. And I can just imagine like how rewarding it is after to just create such amazing experiences for everybody that was involved with the event. I think I remember you were talking to me about that and asking if I wanted to be a part of it. I'm so bummed I couldn't. I was so busy. But I was like seeing that. I was like, darn, I wish I could have been there.
Yes, next one.
Next one for sure. Invite me and I will pull it up. I'll be like, all my other plans are I'm gonna shove it to the side and I'm like, this is a number one priority. That's amazing. That is so cool. That must have been such an incredible experience. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
So sweet.
oh, you're so sweet. Like, thank you for having me here. Like, this is
of course.
Yeah, like it's an honor to be at your crib. So I'm like,
so fun. It's like comes full circle from when we first met at that Fashion Week event.
I know.
Downtown.
I know. It all paid off. but yeah, I would love to talk more about influencer social responsibility.
Yeah.
So tell us about, especially a chief marketing officer. How has it been so far with just developing?
Yeah. So my friend Alex actually started it about a year and a half ago. So we met at jury duty 10 years ago. We were both in the social impact space. I'm both working at foundations. And then long story short, she was working at a refugee like catering company when the pandemic hit. They basically lost all their orders overnight and the business was trying to figure out how to survive. And she reached out to an influencer who had 2.5 million followers at the time and asked if she could send one their meal kit. So she did. The influencer posted and within minutes, they got hundreds of orders, saved the business. And so that showed her the power that an influencer has to help small businesses and companies just by using their platform, because she saw the power of what one story could do. So then she started that influencer's whole philanthropic arm of her platform. And then more and more creators were coming to her asking, okay, I want to use my platform to give back. Where do I go? How do I do this? Like, I'm not involved in the social impact space. Where do I find a good nonprofit? And so that kind of sparked the idea for her to start ISR. And through this, we would always be catching up, and I loved what she was thinking and wanting to build. And so I joined the host committee for our launch last January, and then kind of just snowballed. I loved the work we were doing, and then I came on to lead marketing, and then now I'm the CMO, and we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary in January, and it's been growing a lot, and it's been exciting because every influencer has a different passion area or interest. So we really curate an event to what they want to give, to how they want to give back and show up in the world. So some are fashion. So we've done prom dress drives where the influencers and their friends donate dresses, and then we have girls from we have girls from Girls Inc. come, and they get to basically shop for free. And we have makeup brand sponsors, and so we really get to curate these fun experiences and help creators use their platform.
That is so cool. I think it's great to emphasize that, because I think on social media, it's a lot of superficial things can kind of just get carried away with influencers and this and that. But I think with influencers, the idea is to influence.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we influence in positive ways, give back?
Totally.
And it's up to the interpretation that, for example, that could involve sustainable fashion, and could involve humanitarian acts that have other aesthetics and things involved with it. And I think there's an art to giving back and being community driven with how you're representing yourself on social media. And I think it's great that you guys have created a platform like that, and you having a collaboration on it with being the CMO and her starting it and meeting from jury duty. That's incredible to kind of have that connection with each other. So what other events have you guys been able to create in regards to your influence?
So another influencer, Amelia Edmondson, she's a hosting influencer. So loves hosting, and she's passionate about the elderly. So we did this whole pizza disco party for group. We partnered with New York Cares, and they brought a bunch of their elderly community out, and we did this whole pizza disco party, and it was so fun. It turned into a dance party, and she felt really fulfilled hosting it because it's not her typical hosting, and the elderly loved the experience. So it was so cute seeing all that come together. We got a bunch of brand partners to donate products. We set up a mini gifting suite, and watching these 80-year-old women getting anything they wanted from the gifting suite was just so cute. We also did a Halloween house for Amelia, where she hosted, and we got a bunch of costumes donated, and then brands also donated makeup and different products, and then young girls who probably couldn't afford to be buying new Halloween costumes got to come and basically shop for free. And it was this whole experience where they got to pick out their Halloween costumes. And then kind of dovetailing with that, we did a Halloween trunk or treat at a school in the Bronx, because that area is known for gang violence and gang initiations at night, so it's not safe for the kids to trick or treat. So they bring in a bunch of, typically it's trucks, and they decorate the back of them, and then the kids get to go and get candy from each of them, so that's their trick-or-treating. And that's really fulfilling to see as well. So we have Mr. Beast was a big sponsor, so we got tons of chocolate bars and Dylan's candy bar, and it was cool to see all the brands that wanted to be involved in that too.
That's incredible. That is so amazing. All these different experiences, especially that one really is so sweet, because I've heard the trunk or treat, and my old school used to do that as well when I was really, a lot younger. And it's great how you're bringing it to life, and especially within that area, to kids that can't do it safely. They're able to do this and be a part of this, where they can go and still be still be in a very interactive setting. And especially with being in the sponsorship of Mr. Beast, and the Dylan's candy bar.
The kids loved that. Mr. Beast does a really good job at trying to find ways to give back. So I think they donated 1,300 candy bars, full size. So all the kids were going nuts. It was so cute.
I can imagine that. Anything for more candy, right?
Yeah.
That That's so cool.
Yeah.
So what do you guys have any like projects in the future that you would
Yeah.
like to do? Like tell us about like what's on the line.
So our next event is a Mother's Day event on May 12th, where we're bringing 100 creators and we're bringing in different mom brands and bringing in a nonprofit called Room to Grow and collecting diapers and other like baby products for them. And then the moms are going to get to go around and like meet some of these like socially minded mom and baby brands. So that's an exciting one. It's like a week before I go out on mat leave. So that's like our main focus right now. But then for the future, we want to keep building our network. We have about like 300 creators in our network now and continuing to grow that. We have a vision for a technology platform, a few summits. Yes, so a lot of things in the works, but I won't spoil it all.
Oh yeah, no, you can't spoil too much. You gotta have a little, throw in there. You know what I'm saying? And also, guys, please make sure to follow them on social media at Influencer Social Responsibility. I'll put the link and also post it onto the episode so you guys can follow it. Highly recommend, so you can stay involved and you can be interested in and keep listening in on what is happening, because it's very interesting and amazing to be a part of like amazing organizations like this that give back and helping out with influencers and helping to create amazing events such as this one upcoming one, for example.
Yeah,
and all the others. That is terrific. I'm going back to sustainable fashion for a second because I know you have always had a love for fashion, putting clothes together, and learning about the negatives of the fashion industry, which can be really unfortunate and when you really see the reality of it. So what have you been noticing with the lack of sustainability with fashion, and what do you think brands do that cause such a massive just like waste within the fashion industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think regarding the waste, because people just want things new and now, and especially with social media, they want to be wearing something different every time. And so you just see how quickly like Zara and these fast fashion brands are like H&M, like turning out new styles every week. And they're just, it's too fast. So then they end up going to landfills. And so that's why I'm really passionate about like the rental and the resale market, which I feel like is kind of next wave. Like definitely has been around for a bit, but I'm a big fan of those because then you're not constantly buying new clothes that could end up in landfills or that you don't need. It's like keeps with the circular economy.
I agree. I think it's so important. I'm a huge lover of thrifting and being able to just even like, I love when people even like make like their own clothes or like they do things like that where it's like definitely sustainable, where they're not always continuously buying new things and they don't rewear them. Like, I hate that. Like I hate like those kind of people that's like you just buy it, which is already like, okay, you're spending like probably what like at least $30 on something, and then at least if it's good quality or not, and then it's like you wear it once and then like that's it. Like it's just such a shame, and then it's like you don't do anything like it's like positive with giving back. I'm totally with you on that one. And what are ways that do you think businesses and people in general should really aim to with being more sustainable with fashion? And how can we kind of like combat this in a sense? I mean, I know thrifting is a really big one of them, but I'm here and rental.
I feel like those are big ones. And I think companies are they're experimenting with like new types of materials, which is exciting. Like there's been like apple leather and different types of like leather materials that aren't actually, you know, using leather and are just better for the environment. But also a lot of times that requires a little bit more cost because it's more costly to like develop. So I think it's like a whole mindset for then consumers to understand like that things do cost a little bit more if they are sustainable, depending. And it's really about like a mindset shift, I feel like, and just realizing that a lot of the prices right now aren't like $5 for a t-shirt. There's no way that person is going to be been paid fairly to make that item. And so I think consumers just not knowing that and like not buying the item. Like we have traveled a lot to visit with artisans on the ground, factory workers, and we went to Sri Lanka one year and we're talking with the women, and they were saying how they're paid a fair wage, but that's not a living wage. And so one of them said that she had to turn to sex work at night because she wasn't able to afford to pay for her doctor's appointment because she's like, and I'm producing for brands that you guys all know and wear. You don't see the other side of it. So I think that really like hit home for us, that we're like, this is just such a industry that is so terrible for a lot of the women, mostly women in the supply chain, mostly women in it.
I agree. No, I absolutely agree with you on that. I remember doing a project actually on the lack of sustainability with fast fashion brands, how workers are being treated, especially within the supply chain and coming from countries abroad, and where the products are being then exported to other countries all over the world that are taking in these products and then selling it to the consumer. And it's really upsetting to see just a lack of like ethical standards within the industry,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's and it's all of it, whether it's, you know, safe working conditions, whether it's, you know, receiving fair pay and receiving
Mm-hmm.
not even fair, but like wages that they can live comfortably
Yes.
off of,
Yeah.
where they can be
Exactly.
able to sustain themselves and be
Mm-hmm.
able to live a lifestyle that's comfortable.
Yeah.
And how do you, I mean, I know it gets so complicated regarding legislation, and that's
Uh-huh.
obviously within their country, their policies, and government wise. Do you think down the line there may be like changes and activist standards and jobs happening to help
Mm-hmm.
maybe combat these issues regarding ethicality in the
Yeah,
workplace?
I think so. There was an amazing nonprofit which unfortunately just closed its doors called Remake that did a lot of like advocacy work and trying to help get legislation passed, like the Fashion Act and a few others. So I think that it's just slow. Like definitely trying to get these acts and legislation to be on board. It's a slow process, but I do think there are organizations like working on it. And even we support an organization called Model Alliance, which is all about helping ensure that models are paid fairly, because they're another aspect of, you know, the whole fashion ecosystem that you see a lot, but you don't see kind of the negative side of it. And so they just passed the Fashion Workers Act to make sure that they're being treated fairly by like their agents, because a lot of times there's all these stories of models coming from overseas that are, you know, promised this whole lifestyle and then go in debt to their agents because they have all these expenses and they aren't really getting paid that well. So that's another part of the supply chain that we focus on, and that organization does a lot of legislation type of work.
I see. So for lack of care for models,
Mhm.
and you know, being tied to agencies where they're not being poorly, where they're being poorly treated and
Mhm.
represented by being almost like indebted
Uh-huh,
trusts.
yeah.
What specifically do you think causes them to be indebted, or like how do you think models are really like being mistreated within the organization or within the agency that
Yeah.
they're in?
Yeah, so a lot of stories I've heard is like they have to like pay for rent and clothes and like sometimes travel to go to these appointments, and then the agencies take a huge amount and it doesn't make it sustainable for them to live off of. And I've even heard stories where then they take their passport if they haven't paid them, and like they basically trap them in this whole cycle. And then there's a huge cycle of like sexual abuse that happens like when they first come here, and kind of being promised this glitz and glam world and then being taken advantage of by photographers. And I've heard a lot of stories about that from some of the women in the organization.
I
Yeah.
feel like I've heard a lot about those too, because that's definitely, people really do glamorize the modeling industry, and it's
Mhm.
like so cool how you could be on the cover of like Vogue, or you know, be signed on to like IMG, for example, and like all
Yeah.
these other really like reputable agencies and, you know, jobs that you can get within the industry.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of negatives too, and I know so many models that have stopped becoming models, not even just by like, also I think based off of like the standard like competition within other models, and even like
Yeah.
their weight and their height and
Mhm.
like all these different back themselves, and then therefore like I know models that have gotten unfortunate eating disorders and,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know, all that stuff too. And how do they cope, how do they rebound from that, and do they go back in the industry, do they, you know, permanently leave, like,
Yeah.
and it's really a shame, because it's like they're everyone's a human being, everyone deserves to
Mhm.
be treated with respect and dignity, and obviously of course, yeah, you have to, you know, abide by certain guidelines, standards, but sometimes the standards are just so ridiculous
Yeah.
and crazy,
Yeah.
and they're just unethical, and it's like
Totally.
it's not fair, you know.
Yeah.
It's a shame that we have, I think, that lack of courtesy for people, and
Mhm.
I'm hoping down the line that we continuously see a healthier and more stable modeling gigs and agencies for people, for models, so they
Yeah.
feel like they can be in an industry that's healthy and safe for them. You know, I think that's
Yeah.
always so important. And have you been able to like talk to people like within the industry to like gather this experience, or like gather this information in that sense,
Yeah,
or?
a lot of, well, in the modeling specifically, the founder of Model Alliance, Sarah Zip, has become my friend. So I've heard a lot of her stories. And then we hosted an event for her, and then she hosts other events where she brings in these models to kind of share their stories. And she brought in a model who kind of told everything about what was happening at Abercrombie behind the scenes. And like a lot of these models have like exposed these big cases that have eventually come to light. And it's been like with the support of Model Alliance, kind of helping them and having that support system that they're able to share their story and not have fear of retribution.
Okay, so I see what you're saying there. So I want to talk about. So I know we talked about like Indego Africa, Remake, And then Children's Museum of the
Uh-huh.
East End. Are we talking about Long Island here? Or
Yes.
like what's
Yeah,
our.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, I have to ask that because I'm originally from Long Island.
Oh, where about?
So on Bayport. So it's like a
Okay.
small town. It's an hour and a half away from the city. So I'm like southeastbound, like the middle of Long Island basically. And
Okay.
from my house, I'm like 5 minutes away from the water. You just walk
Uh-huh.
over, you just are right by the Great South Bay. And then across you can see Fire Island and yeah, you know it's
Okay.
the
Oh,
ocean.
yeah. Okay. You know
But
where that
yeah,
is.
do you know when East End is this based out like in the
It's,
Hamptons?
yeah, it's in Bridgehampton.
Oh, sick. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
for me, that's like I want to say that's like probably like 40 to 50 because it's like it really is kind of the middle because it's like
Uh-huh.
to get out there is like a 40 to 50 minute drive
Yeah,
at
yeah, yeah.
least,
Uh-huh.
and then from the city it's like an hour and a half. I guess I'm more closer to the east than I am to
Yeah.
the west, but
Is that like near Riverhead, kind of?
yeah, it
Like
kind
south?
of is. From Riverhead, I'm probably about like I want to say maybe like 30 minutes,
Okay.
30, 40 minutes.
Okay.
So like if you're turning it up with speed a little.
Uh-huh.
It's so fun though. So tell us a little bit about it
Yeah.
and like this
Yeah,
organization.
it's an amazing museum, mostly for kids like from being born to age 7. My son is obsessed with it, so that's how I started kind of getting involved. He would go to it all the time when we were out there, and then he started going to their camps. And so last year I joined their board, which has been just such a fun experience because I feel like since we're so active as like members and participants at the museum, just bringing feedback and different ideas. They do a lot of events. So we have like this big family fair coming up. So we're thinking through, okay, what brands are going to be there and activations. And we had holiday auctions. So I just kind of reached out to my network to find people that wanted to donate like their services or their products, which I found was really fun just because everyone was interested in donating their time or their products for a good cause. And so I really feel like this is a role that I'm able to bring a lot of my different backgrounds and experience into like helping the organization that I'm just like so passionate about.
And it's so great that like it has family ties to yourself and you're able to like
Hmm.
be part of like this leadership position. And how long have you been a part of a leadership?
Since last summer, I
Oh,
joined at
that's
the
neat.
end of last summer, and it really does feel like a family when you're there, and that separates it from a lot of the other places out east that can just feel more like transient. Like they get to know you. We love all of the staff and everyone there. So, and they have a lot of give back programs for the community. There's like a diaper collection that's happening at the hub, which is also in the Hamptons to give to the community of moms, and they do food banks like every other week where people can come and get food. And so there's a lot of different opportunities to volunteer and then to give back. So I like that aspect of
So we've talked about so many leadership positions that you have as being like the board of like every single like nonprofit
it.
organization that you've been a part of. How has it been to have these leadership positions? Like, is it a lot of pressure? Do you feel like you're just like that leadership kind of person that like needs to
um,
be in these positions? Like, how has it been to manage them all in that
Yeah,
sense?
I mean, it's fun. I feel like I've had to become more and more selective over time. I think in the beginning, I was just like flattered to be asked and was just taking on every position. And then I think through that, I learned where my skills are best used and where my time I can add the most value. So I've had to scale back from a lot of boards just because I think I said yes eagerly and then realized that it wasn't the best way to spend some of my time in a way that the organization needed. So right now, yeah, I'm on just a fewer boards, but I'm as involved as like I can be. They know that they can always reach out to me for like questions ad hoc, like text me. And so I think that's been fun because it's not always like super structured. It's like, okay, they know my skill sets and my connections in the areas that I'm good at. So they ping me for specific things like when needed, which I think is helpful. They're really considerate of my time as well.
No, I get that. No, for sure. And I think that just having flexibility within your leadership positions are so important, especially
Hmm.
because like I can imagine like it's a lot to balance. And I've been in those situations too where like I say yes way too like I say yes a little too much. Then I'm like, ooh, when I would get like a leadership
Uh-huh.
position or like a position like within a company and like with some of my jobs and some things that I've done this year, I've said yes to a lot of different things, and I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Uh-huh. Yeah, 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 totally. You
So
have to
right, so you
protect your
scale
time.
back,
Hmm.
and then it's like learning the balance of like when to say yes and when to say no,
Yeah.
and it's just so important. And out of like all the leadership positions, which one do you think you've learned the most from, been the most challenging for you in that
Oh,
sense?
that's a good question. I think the Children's Museum has been really interesting because, like, all my other positions have been in sustainable fashion. So this is just a new area for me. It's a physical location. So I've learned a ton about just things that come up with that. And like, yeah, a lot of things just come up when you own like a physical place. So I've learned a lot with that. And then working with the different population, like with kids versus like kids in a very specific area of New York versus like artisans abroad. So I think the Children's Museum one I've learned the most so far because it's just been so different than my other one.
I see. No, I definitely get it. And like, and then all like the things that go into like organizing it, collaborating with other groups, and then it's a little bit more different from like all the other things that you've worked on.
Yeah.
And down the line, what do you hope to achieve with being a part of that specific museum and that organization?
Yeah, we have so many ideas in the works. It's a very like nimble team and they're very open to ideas. We just redid the playground last summer and so we have like all these different ideas of different areas to redo and like how we can get different sponsors in and different types of memberships and just I think really like the sky's the limit. We want to figure out how we can raise because right now it's like good until like 7 is kind of the core age. And so like how we can bring in older kids. Like I think there's just like so many different opportunities that's what I find really exciting.
And we talked about in the beginning, kind of like, and I remember like in your intro about ethical marketing for influencer social responsibility. I want to talk about that. So, what does like ethical marketing mean to you, and how do you apply that to all of your leadership positions that you've been able to have, and specifically influencer social responsibility?
Yeah, I would say it's about like authenticity and authenticity over like aesthetic. You know, things can't just look pretty and perfect. They need to be authentic. And I think people connect with storytelling that is authentic. I think people will connect with the creator more that is showing more of their real life than just this picture perfect version. And content creators are just marketers in themselves, like the products that they're using and sharing and just the types of ways that they're living their life. And so I think ethical story or ethical marketing is really about being true to your mission and the product. And I feel like there's so many ways now to like try to get people to buy more, try to do this and like not showing up as like the true brand. And so I think ethical marketing is just kind of bringing it back to the core. And I think more people will relate to that as well.
I see. I think so too. Just being true and authentic and not sharing some like misleading information on social
Yeah.
media with how you're influencing yourself, especially with what you're promoting.
Yes, or like just because they get a commission but don't really like the product. I think also people are kind of seeing through that now, but I know it's like a business for them too. So it's a balance of like making sure that they're only promoting products that they genuinely like and use, even if there's the financial cost of like, oh, they could have promoted this product that they don't really like, but they would have gotten a much higher payout. So it's like a moral question.
And then have you seen on social media a lot like a lack of ethical marketing through like a lot of influencers, like whether you've worked with them or like whether you haven't? Because I know obviously you have you have your finger on the pulse within like the social media and the industry, that's for sure. So have you noticed like any like lack of ethical marketing in your opinion?
I mean, I think it's like some are easy to see through when it's just people also just only promoting products. Like they promoted like 5 different mascaras this week. It's like, okay, you don't use all 5. Like, you know, when they're promoting a bunch of like the same type of product, like, okay, well, which one do you actually use and like? So I think once you start seeing these things, then you just kind of think, okay, well, I can't really trust whatever they're promoting because it seems like they're just doing it for the money.
Yeah, they're just doing it for the money. They're just doing
Yeah.
it for the paycheck. They're not actually
Yeah.
like that.
Right?
Which especially is like so true on TikTok.
Oh,
Like,
yes,
I see that a
especially. Yeah,
lot. Like Instagram. Well, not Instagram probably as
as
much,
much
but
as TikTok. Yeah.
it's huge because you'll just get like I'm actually like I've gotten that too because like I'm in their like partnership program or like their like program where you could like monetize on TikTok. So I've been getting products. I'm actually like I try them out first before I actually talk about them because I'm like I can't just like just as soon as I get it just be like post a video about it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
sample it out because I do believe like it's so important to be true and
Yeah.
ethical with how you're promoting, you know, certain products that you're receiving on TikTok and how you like them and how you use them.
Yeah.
Have you been that kind of person that would post on TikTok with, or even like Instagram with like ethical marketing and with, you know, certain products that you use? And have you practiced a lot of ethical marketing?
I do like a little bit. I'm more so on TikTok than Instagram, but I post like products that I like on TikTok, and especially like mom products, because I feel like a lot of my friends, especially ones who are pregnant, are like, oh, what'd you put on your registry? Or like, what are your favorite products for potty training? Or like XYZ. So I'll just genuinely like go through and find what my favorite products are and like make a video about it. But I haven't like monetized it probably as well as I can, but it's because I'm just like, talking about what I genuinely like.
You don't care about that much, I guess, that money aspect of that as much. It's more about like just helping out the moms.
Yeah,
Making the
totally.
moms feel like they have connected and they have a community. And
Yeah,
if they're looking for something, it's like you're almost like solving a problem for them.
yeah,
So I think in that aspect, that's really important. I think going in more with that goal instead of just the money aspect
yeah.
of it is so, so, so important.
And then I
which
think you'll
respect.
build like a more authentic follower base because they'll trust you, and then like, you can monetize later. But
Yeah, that's a good tip. Make sure you build a relationship first. Then, if you can and you want to, then you monetize. But do it in an ethical way. Good marketing. And so, what social media do you like more, like or platform? Do you prefer Instagram? Do you prefer TikTok? Or
I
what do
like
you use?
both for different reasons. I feel like I use my Instagram a lot to share about like my personal life and like the work that we're doing and the events that I'm going to. Like as we mentioned, I've been like gala season right now, so I like sharing about like the different nonprofits and stuff in real time. Whereas TikTok is kind of more of like my mom parenting focus, like tips and products and stuff like that. Whereas I feel like I have a different community. Like my Instagram friends like don't really need to find me on TikTok, and like same vice versa.
I see.
Yeah.
I get you. Yeah, they have different uses.
Yes, and when I started my TikTok, it was during the pandemic, so it was all like lip syncing and dance videos. So it's like changed over time.
Oh, gotcha. Do you still do a lot of like lip syncing and dancing videos, or is
I
it
do
like
some lip syncs still, but my dancing videos have been archived. But during the pandemic, it was such a fun way to just like pass the time being
No,
home.
seriously, I get it. I think you should bring it back. I think, especially like after, like when you like during maternity leave, like
I
go
see all
for
these
it.
ones with like moms and their kids, and they're so cute. So I'm like, maybe. And my son loves dancing, so
You know what? For that reason, do it. It'll bring joy, and I'm sure all of the people that you're connecting with on TikTok will be gagged when they see that content. I know that for a fact. No, that is so cool though. So you talked about, and even before we started filming, a lot of the night events that you've been going to. This is like your version of
Yes, I
nightlife.
know. My version of nightlife has changed a little bit
Which
since
I
I just
kind of
moved
love.
here.
Like, I want this version of nightlife. Like, I think I've learned, like, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I love the going out moments. After a while, it's kind of empty. And I feel like you can get so much more out of events that you can kind of network, but they're also part of like nonprofit organizations. They're part of your work, they're part of your passions, they're part of things that inspire you, with also being around by such inspirational people that are involved with so many different events and organizations that like to give back.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us? I know you kind of reiterated it before, but you can kind of just do it again. Like, so the interns and assistants know. What events have you been a part of
Yeah.
recently?
So last night I actually got home at midnight, and I was like, wow, this is I'm staying out. It was for Vital Voices, a nonprofit that provides mentorship and different programs for like inspiring women who are building amazing businesses. And Sophia Bush was one of the award presenters, as well as Hillary Clinton, who actually started the organization like 30 years ago. And DVF was there. So it was a bunch of people from like different industries, and it was just super, super inspiring. And then at the end of it, just everyone in the room, it was probably 80% women, were just all inspiring other women to be able to chat with and stay and hang out with. And then tonight I'm going to, it's Danielle's Foundation for Music Benefit, which is all about helping kids with autism and special needs use music as their therapy. And then last week I went to the FIT Foundation Gala, which was amazing. And then next week I'm going to SEO, which is Sponsors for Educational Opportunities. And that's all about helping underprivileged or low income kids have job training and skills to go out and have internships, and like a lot of them end up in finance. My husband went through the program when he was in college, and so we're very passionate about like supporting organizations that we're close to as well.
That's amazing. That's so cool. It seems very like relatable because I know some people are like looking for internships and looking for job opportunities. Do you believe that this organization does bring a lot of success to those involved with it?
It does. It does. Like a bunch of them, I forget what the stats are now, but like end up at like Fortune 500 companies, like end up with like big internships in finance. They have a bunch of partnerships with like banks that just know how good the training is. So like take a class of their students to become interns. So it's really incredible. And that program is very rigorous. Like I hear from my husband how like the whole training program went. It was like 8 or 9 a.m. every Saturday during high school and college that you had to dedicate to this. So
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah.
How do you get involved with an organization like that? Like whether you are actually like looking to get those internships or you're involved by helping organizing it. Like how do you get involved?
Yeah, like my husband found out about it when he was, I think, in high school. And then since we were in the philanthropy space and he joined like their alumni board. And so that's how we found out about it as an opportunity to give back. And then other organizations are a lot of word of mouth. We used to go to a lot of conferences where we would find out about new nonprofits. And then now that people know we have a focus on sustainable fashion, a lot of times people will recommend organizations to us. Like my friend, she's on the board of the FIT Foundation, and so she knows my passion on around fashion, so invited me to be at her table. So it's kind of a collection of different ways that we hear about the organizations.
And it's mostly through like connections.
Yeah, mostly through connections and like our network.
How did it take to build up the network that you have today? Has it been a lot? Has it been challenging? And how has it been being able to manage your network that you have now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I joined our family foundation to 2014, coming from working at a magazine. And so I felt like this was such a new space. I didn't like know anyone my age who was involved in social impact. So I joined an organization called Nexus, which is all about bringing next gen like philanthropists, impact investors, and social entrepreneurs together. And they have summits. And so that's where I met like a lot of my now best friends because they were all in similar like positions, which were unique, like working with their family or being involved in philanthropy in our early 20s. So that's where I met a lot of my community. And then all the recent events, I would say, actually, now that I'm reflecting, have been from friends in that. And then before the pandemic, we were going to a ton of conferences. We were speaking at them as well as just attending. We probably attended almost like every conference in the impact space. And so we made a lot of connections kind of through that and just like networking there. We've scaled back on going to those because also family, but
Fair. No, I get it. It's a lot after a while, and it can be like overwhelming to attend so many, and life kind of gets in the way at times too.
yeah.
And do you have any advice for people that maybe are hesitant with networking, making connections, getting involved within their passions, within their industry?
Uh-huh.
I know it can be kind of intimidating for a lot of
Yeah.
people to kind of meet people like in
Yeah.
that community. Do you have any advice on that for people, or?
I mean, that's a good question. I feel like you just have to step outside of your comfort zone and like start before you're ready. Like when I had no idea like what was going to be of this like new world when I was kind of stepping out of fashion into social impact. So I was just like, I'm just going to attend everything, be a sponge, learn, reach out to people. Like I had one of my now good friends like just reach out to me on LinkedIn and was like, I'm starting to get in social impact. Like it seems like we have similar backgrounds in fashion. Now being at like our family's foundation, would you mind grabbing coffee? And I was like, sure, because I'm like happy to help and see how I can, be useful. And so we got coffee and like we just became super close. So I think also just like being open to like reaching out to people and like the worst someone could say is no, and just putting yourself out there and starting before you're ready, like with the foundation and ISR, like, and even becoming a mom, just like starting like what I don't even feel ready, but I know I'm going to figure it out and kind of like building it as you go.
Yeah, building it as you go and just building up that journey and then just taking everything one step at a time. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes like I think people take on too much. But yeah, I think if you're passionate about what you're doing and you are able to just go and you learn like you're a sponge. You
Yeah.
go, you learn, you talk to other people, you listen, you see what you can bring to the table and you're open to whatever happens. And because you never know what can come out of any experience.
Yes,
Because like the biggest thing is
absolutely.
building up, connections, building up your job experience. Like that's a big
Yeah.
thing that I'm working on right now.
Right.
And it's super fun to get involved with different events and to try to get internships and try to get jobs, which have been so far going really well. But it's like it could be going like also
Yeah.
like, it could be stressful for so many people too
Yeah.
to try to get involved.
Yeah. And I
And
think you like learn what you do and don't like from like trying internships in like different industries versus like having your mind set on something and like you try things and you're like, oh, actually, maybe I didn't like this the way I thought it would, or maybe I like this aspect. So I think that also, like, starting before you're ready, like before you kind of just build this whole idea in your head of what you want to do, just start before that and then kind of figure it out as you go.
Figure it out as you go. And that's why you got to just keep trying because you never know what can come out of any
Yeah,
situation.
yeah, exactly.
No, that's so true. And I would love to talk about, do you have any, like, in general, like, long-term goals for your future, whether it's work, whether it's anything in your life? Like, what do you hope to achieve down the line professionally
Yeah.
that will best fulfill your cup?
Yeah. I mean, I think ISR related, like, we're really excited about this potential tech platform that we're building that would help be a matchmaker between creators and nonprofits and brands. So I think that's kind of like the next iteration and kind of doing these summits. And we have like big plans for it. So once I'm back from mat leave, we're going to dive into that. And then kind of alongside that, in terms of growing something, I have my second baby due next month. And so thank
Congrats.
you. Just like continuing to grow my family and instilling the sense of like responsibility and impact in them and interest in like giving back and the importance of like helping your community and other people is just like a long-term vision that I have. Eventually, it would be great if our kids wanted to be involved in like our family's foundation as like a generational thing, but my parents never pushed me to be involved. It was really me kind of coming to them and saying, I'm interested now. I want to be involved. And I think because they never pushed me, that's why I like wanted to be involved. Otherwise, I feel like if they pushed me when I was young, I would have felt like, oh, I never got to like experience what I wanted to do in fashion, or I never got to experience things because I felt like I needed to do this. So I think just like exposure to it and then having them come to us and like want
That's nice. Yeah,
again.
I hope they do. I mean, it seems like a great organization and great and cool to be involved with. So I hope
Yeah.
that they did. Like that, it just seems like so fun to be a part of it,
Yeah.
and hopefully it will grow and become in that way. Because it just seems like who wouldn't want to be a part of that? Giving back and helping
Uh-huh.
others and empowering others, especially women. Like I think
Yeah.
that and girls. I think that's absolutely fantastic, and
Yeah.
I hope they do down the line. I think
Yes,
they will.
me
I
too.
think they will. I think they will. But I always ask this to all of my guests at the end of the podcast to wrap it up. This is like my go to iconic question that I ask all the time.
Uh-huh.
If you have any, or you could do one, you could do multiple pieces of advice, doesn't matter to me, whatever works for you.
Uh-huh.
Some advice to help, inspire, to help maybe empower the interns and
Uh-huh.
associates, maybe get involved with the industry. What advice could you give?
Oh, I feel like it kind of is similar to my last answer, but like, yeah, starting before you're ready, not being afraid to reach out or cold, like message someone on LinkedIn. I think there's so much power in that. Like, you're probably going to have to send a bunch before you get a response, but that one response might be life changing. And I think I had thought initially that I needed to like have my career established before I could give back. And then realizing there are so many ways to like give back now and learning about more about the industry that you're passionate about. Like when I learned about fashion and started seeing the negative side. Okay, how can I be more involved now? And then just started reaching out to a ton of people to like learn. So I think no matter what you're passionate about, you can find a way to give back in that area. It doesn't mean you have to totally like start this new thing or like find a new passion that has to do with like giving back. And no matter what it is, there's always a way to give back within that area.
I agree. I think that's amazing advice. I love it. I think you just answered that perfectly. I was like, okay, like you ate. But yes, this concludes this episode of the Cubicle podcast with Miss Stephanie
Thank
Stephenson,
you.
our legend. We are such. I'm so happy I was able to talk with you and be able
Yes,
to
it was
learn your
fun.
story. It was really fun,
Yeah,
and I hope that it was good and like you enjoyed it because I was like I did.
I did.
And
You're
yes,
so cute.
I really enjoyed this episode, and I hope you guys did as well, and you were able to learn all about her background. And yes, stay tuned for the next episode and beyond. For all is said. Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you.